What's up YouTube, it's me Sam, aka Robot Samurai, and today we're going to be doing this huge wooden cutout. This feels like a Pokemon. Who is that Pokemon? Just kidding, it's not a Pokemon, but it is anime themed. It's Kaiju number 8 from the hit show Kaiju number 8. So yeah, let's get to it. So I started with this piece of wood that I found, I think, on the side of the road, and then I just drew the character on it, and I'm just using an old cheap saw I have to cut it out. Okay, so here is the cutout with the sketch. I try to keep it as accurate as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be a perfect one-to-one. There's the reference to them together, but we're going to try to do it as best we can. We're going to keep this black, white, and gray. But hopefully it turns out good. I'm excited. Okay, this super sus looking stuff is actually matte medium. It's really good if you're trying to paint on something that isn't canvas or isn't primed. It just gives it like a nice finish that the paint will adhere to, basically. But it does look pretty questionable. So we're starting with like the gray mid-tone, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put in like the whites, and then the dark gray. And this design's pretty simple color-wise, which is why I think I chose it. I wanted to do something that was kind of big but kind of bold, and had more of like a graphic style. Okay, so I got all my flat colors done. Time to add probably the most important part. I'm gonna try to do the eye, and then if I mess it up, I can just come back with black at the end when I do all the lines and details and fix it. But here it goes. Get a different marker. This one's pretty much out. I probably should have just done this with paint, but I like paint markers so much more than acrylic. Alright, his eyes have these like flowing circle-y things around it. I'm just gonna kind of add some of this. And then I'll clean it up with like a small brush or something when I do the ink part. But there you go. Hey, see, it already looks 10 times better. Not there yet, but getting there. All right, YouTube, we're back for day 2 on this project, this Kaiju number 8 piece, and we're gonna be doing the inking, and for that we're using the handy dandy some Montana acrylic. It's refill for the paint markers, but I just use it for inking. And this fancy super high-tech plastic cup. And then we're gonna be doing some the line art with some liner brushes, just for a couple reasons. All right, try not to make a mess, try not to make a mess. Oh, we're gonna start with like that much. Okay, a couple reasons. First being, oh, that's kind of strong, I can smell it. Markers are good for line work to a certain extent, but I feel like super clean, super juicy lines, you need a liner brush. And it's just easier to get like flow to your lines, like more thick to thin. Here, I'll kind of demo it right here on my little test. So you can do nice little like flowy lines. There you go, like that. And that's really hard to get with a marker unless it's a brush pen. But I've had trouble with like certain brush pens, the ink not being quite what I want it to be. So, and then I use the sides of this cup just to like, if I get too much paint, because the last thing you want to do is splatter, I'll kind of twist it as I go along and get some of the ink off. So we're gonna start with probably the most important part, I think, or my most favorite. We're gonna do this little eye section. And I'm afraid to mess it up, but sometimes you just gotta jump in and start, so fuck it. All right, here we go. Ooh, I also feel very like fancy when I use a brush to ink. I think it takes a little bit longer maybe, but I don't know. It's just gonna make this whole piece, trust me. Probably come back in with a little bit bigger brush and like fill in all these little, like the larger areas. But I'm looking at my reference right now that I showed you guys yesterday, or when I started this. But the goal is to make everything look, I don't know, clean but messy, if that makes sense. Because my reference is, I'm pretty sure it's from the manga. So it's like the original art style. I want it to kind of look like that. So I'm gonna grab another brush real quick. Okay, I was trying to find a small square, but I have no idea where that brush went. It might have been one of my brushes. Sometimes my brushes get dirty and crusty and I forget to clean them. So this is like it's like a round 8 or something. It's a little bit bigger brush. I forgot to clean them and they become very solid and impossible to use and impossible to clean. So when that happens, I have to throw them away. But I don't really have any expensive brushes. This liner brush I'm using and I have a smaller liner. I think this is my most expensive set. It's a Jerry Q. See, even these brushes, you can get like, with practice, you can get some really nice thin lines. And of course with this, you can get even better, a line variation. And I don't do this a ton just because of how time consuming it is, but I want to improve more. Improve my brush accuracy and competency, I guess. So that's what we're working on today. We're trying to improve by working on this project, this piece. And I'm trying very hard as I do this to not go drag my fat hand over the wet ink and smear it. See, like I already got some ink right there. Dang. Try not to make a mess, but I almost always do. So I'm being extra cautious. Man, I didn't realize how like strong this smells. It smells like Sharpies. If I start acting weird, it's not my fault. I'm just getting a little marker high. A little alcohol marker high. Secondhand high off markers. But this, if I'm being totally honest, this is my favorite part, is not just finishing a piece, but just putting the lines, some crispy, juicy lines, line art. It gives it life and makes like a boring, dull, flat, was this 3 colors, white, gray, light gray, dark gray, whatever. It takes something and makes it something boring and makes it, I don't know, fun, alive. Sorry, I don't know why I'm suddenly pontificating and waxing poetic, but let's tone it down a notch. It's getting a little too serious. But I'm just gonna continue. Okay, so now this part, I'll probably use this brush a little bit, then I'll switch this little one. But I want to, get some of these lines nice and thin and clean this up. So that's why I didn't mind that it was kind of messy. That's the other thing too, is just do it messy, and then just do it and do it messy, because you can always clean it up later for the most part. That's why this sketch isn't the most perfect. Ooh, see, I messed that up a little bit, but hey, it's okay. I'm not really ever been one for hyperrealism or 100% accuracy, but I try to make it like as close as I can without getting too butthurt if it's not perfect or not 100%, but also just kind of letting it be its own thing. All right, so this part, I could probably use this brush, but I'm gonna switch. This is why you wear a hat. There we go. I'm gonna switch to the fine liner. And then get the details. All right. And kind of drag it slowly. I don't know, I think it turned out pretty good. Let's see. I probably should have zoomed in on the reference so I can see it better. Yeah, I'll make some of these kind of like smaller, not so like more. I'm gonna chop them up, make them more choppy, because that kind of matches the vibes on the original a little bit better. There you go. I think that's pretty good. Nice. I'll switch back. Boom. This other one. And then I'm twisting. I'm getting a little ink, and I'm twisting and pulling it so I don't have a fat blob of ink chilling. And then I think I'll do the nose next, because, you know, that seems the most fun. I know I should probably start with like the least fun part and then do the most fun last, but I like to eat my dessert first sometimes, you know? So I'll do the most important or the most fun and then just move from there. And this ink is fairly opaque, so I'm glad for that, because I can't remember. I didn't want it to be super transparent and have like issues with that, so then we're just gonna add some little ink lines, ink marks. Okay, I think this is dry. I'm gonna be very careful, because I'm gonna do the brow. Excuse me. And then, yeah, I keep looking to the side because I'm looking at my reference just to, like I said, draw from it, not necessarily 100% focused on accuracy, just more like the vibes and somewhat accurate. Okay, mostly accurate, but we're going for like 90% accuracy, 10% vibes. Just kidding, it's more like 60-40 probably. Ooh, this part's cool. Look at this part. Oh, the weird little, like, I don't know, look like skull fractures along his face is pretty cool. That's why I wanted to do some fan art. It's when I watched it, I was like, this is really cool. Character design. And then I like the story, and it just seemed, it was pretty badass. So I was like, all right, let's fucking do it. All right, so as you can see, this is gonna take me a while. So I just kind of want to demonstrate how this is all gonna come together and show you the basics, but we'll jump to a time lapse and I'll show you when it's done. Bye.